areas where the church could join us with prayer, I would say number one would be our continued relationship with the government, that it would stay healthy, and that we would continue to have an impact on legislation. I think one of the most amazing things to see is like God taking us into this position of legislation change. I am not political at all. And so it's really funny because I feel so inadequate of like, I have no clue. But the Lord brought us in connection with an attorney from Paraguay. And her main focus is helping to change the legislation around the world to be more child-centered and to be up to the standard of care. Belize is 20 years it's been since they changed legislation for children. We actually were able to take what is called the Family Care Act in the Belize legislation, and we hired her and she did a 92-page draft. So what that covers is from giving the child a voice. Like right now, the children do not have a voice. If they come into care for abuse or neglect or abandonment, or they are orphaned because of the death of the parents, they do not have a voice. We've had situations where children have never met their adoptive parents until the day they go and pick them up, and they're gone, and they just remove them, and they have no say. They're not even given that option. And so or let's say a visitation. So a child comes into our care under abuse, and the parent requests a visitation. If the parent wants a visitation, the child cannot say, I'm not comfortable with that. Even if that parent perpetrated them, if that parent was a sexual abuser, they do not have a say of, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want that visit. Secondly, we do not have a time frame. When a child comes into care, what does their permanent plan look like? So if they come into care at 3 years old, they could be in the system for 7, 8 years before they say, oh, guess what? This child will never go back to their family. Oh, they're adoptable now. Well, now the child is 12, and it's like, okay, you missed all of these years that child could have been with their forever family, because there's no time frame within legislation to say, when a child comes into care, okay, then we move step 1, step 2, step 3, and we get that child, the permanent plan for that child figured out, so that if they are adoptable, they can go at the youngest age possible. So that's just some of the key points, but there's a lot. Obviously, it's 92 pages. Belize government is similar to the UK. It's not like the US, so they have like a parliament and things like that. This was like 2 months ago. I got a phone call to present this 92-page document to the cabinet members. First of all, Jervis flew out that same day, and he's Belizean, so I prefer him to do things because he's Belizean. And I'm like, I am not political. Like, I don't know these things. I don't know what a cabinet meeting even looks like. And so we ended up and took 3 of our older girls that are adults, and we went into this cabinet meeting, and I presented some of the main points of this 92-page draft. And then I allowed my girls to speak, to say, what was it like growing up in the system? And what would you want to have changed? And at one point, the chairperson was like, okay, your time limit is up. And another person that was in the cabinet was like, you need to stop. This is the most powerful cabinet meeting we've had since I've been in the parliament, or whatever she called it, for 15 years. And she's like, I want to hear what these girls have to say. And so because of what we did, we froze a bill that was going to be passed. And now they're actually doing a lot of investigating and finding out like what is actually happening for these kids that are within the system, and how do they fix it, and how do they help. Because the culture has so much poverty, and because there's so many different aspects happening, a lot of times there's not this value and love for their children of, who are you? What has God created you to be? And being able to impact not only LOL, but the community and the nation, to see that like God has created you for a purpose, and you have a value and you have a worth. And I think people, because we see that also in the government, like we are telling the government those same things. We are acknowledging to the government that they're valuable, that who they are is valuable, and they're seeing something different because we're speaking words of life into them that they don't see. You know, the other homes, there's just tension. There is just a lot of tension with every other home. And we'll send little, I'll send a little text like, thinking about you today, I'm praying for you. Thank you for the impact that you have on the children. Thank you for what you're doing. Or how can I pray for you? And they're seeing that we see them. We don't just see an office. We don't just see the position that they hold, but we truly see who they are and recognize the pressures and the things that they're going through. And I think it's just bringing the heart of the Father and us not realizing that impact. And everybody can make that impact. It's not just in Belize, right? But we have that ability to do that here. We can do that right where we're at, is being able to allow people to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. And so I think everybody can do that around the world, not just in Belize.